My heart's racing. Thank you, Jude. Putting together today is just something that's needed to happen for a long time. I think this is the beginning of a massive movement. So I'm grateful that you and privileged to be asked to speak today. Thank you. I'm reading off a script because I tend to ramble and I've got 20 minutes, so I've got to rein it in and stick to my words, otherwise I'll drift. Who would have thought that a long-running radio soap opera that was originally focused on the simple country life has over the last year led the way in putting the spotlight on domestic violence, provoking conversation, debates, and ideas well beyond its radio audience? You may not be a listener of The Archers, but I'd be surprised if you hadn't heard conversations about it recently. My name is Mandy, and I'm the real-life Helen. In fact, my experiences have helped to brief Louisa Paticus, to the actress who plays Helen, to ensure the accuracy and authenticity of the story. Domestic violence isn't just a black eye. It's a multitude of subjects, from physical to mind control to life control. It's a continual torture that has no let up to breathe to be normal. You live in a bubble controlled by one person. As Helen portrayed the slow, insidious, coercive control of Rob, it starts with the abuser choosing what you wear, stopping you seeing your friends and family, and saying that they're no good for you. Over time, the badgering and mockery breaks you down. If you do not have the strength mentally, it can destroy you completely. Tactics like sleep deprivation, starvation, constant questioning, beatings, and rapes can consume you inside out. Mind games to make you believe it's your fault and that you have no self-worth. You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid. Helen suffered a long period of this type of breakdown, anxiety, fear, and emotion of being under the thumb. Rob, piece by piece, takes her self-worth and mind until she hits a low point where Rob goes for her son. Not thinking clearly, and to protect her boy, she ends up stabbing him. I met my ex when I was 18 years old in a shopping centre in Birmingham. His line, "Have you got the time?" put me under a spell that I was not to break free from. As all abusers, he started with imprisoning me in the flat, keeping me from friends and family. He threw my clothes away and replaced them with his choice. He would say it was because he cared, and I thought he loved me. Slaps turned to punches, and jokes about me turned to degrading taunts and threats. I remember the first time he raped me. Daniel, my firstborn, was in a cot at the end of the bed. I was not allowed to scream in case I woke him. My clothes were torn off me, scissors to my throat. I gathered the courage the next day to tell the police. I wrote a statement, but nothing happened. They just drove me back to a hell I couldn't escape from. 18 years of running to be tracked down by a computer hacker, a Jekyll and Hyde. He could put on the sob story to get officials to believe him. I tried everything possible to keep my 5 children alive, changed our names by deed poll so many times and went underground. He was arrested and he'd be locked up for various offences over the years, but he always got off. My injuries, from nearly losing an eye, a chewed hand to the bone by his teeth, to a cracked skull, were noted at hospitals throughout my moving from town to town. I escaped to refuges, but he tracked me down and followed me everywhere I went, and the police didn't stop him. There was nothing I could do. He was and still is a law unto himself. No one can stop him, he would sing, the Lauryn Hill song, "You can't run, you can't hide, I'll find you," and take it slowly. Hence the title of my book, You Can't Run. I was asked by Women's Aid, who have been working closely with the Archers team on this storyline, to help Louisa, who plays Helen, portray the ugliness and truth as real as possible. She cried when we met as I told her my story. She was clearly moved, shocked, and appalled by what had happened, and she promised me that she would act the best she could, though it was going to test her mentally. She's had to live and breathe this storyline, the hardest role to act, which has shook her to the core, and it's not something she could just leave at work. It's affected her deeply. And I'm proud of the Archers team for raising awareness to DV in all its forms. It is vital that all forms of media learn and understand the widths and depths of this ever-growing dis-ease. We cannot live in ignorance to such things as it's rife in society. This is no longer a taboo subject. 2 women a week are killed in the UK alone. By speaking out publicly, I'm giving strength to those going through situations similar to mine. I receive 500 plus emails a day of stories, people asking for guidance, thanking me for the help to freedom. It started off locally, then it was UK, Europe, and now as far as Kenya. My ex was arrested July 2002, and he pleaded not guilty, thinking he'd covered his tracks by wiping hospital, doctors, prison records clean. No past offences. Dragged me and our 5 children through Crown Court for a whole year. Sentenced the 3rd of the 3rd of the 3rd. Guess what my lucky number is? 3. GBH with intent for attacking me with broken glass, sharpened knives, and in the end a blowtorch. Rape and false imprisonment. He got 15 years. The judge said he was devious, evil, and calculated. Whilst in prison, he sent me death threats and studied law to get what he wanted. After biting off a warden's nose in the prison, he was transferred to the Albany on the Isle of Wight for hard crimes. Category grade A, dangerous criminal. Excuse me. Then in 2008, he was released early. We were told by the police to uproot again, and my eldest son, Daniel, went missing. His body was found a month later. Dan couldn't face living on the run from his father. He wanted to be free. He had witnessed horrific scenes of torture, and we'd lived under the threat of being killed daily for years. The injustice of our system broke him. He took his life. My cross to bear, the feeling of guilt, and suicide, a demon that runs through our minds like a poisoned river. My ex is still out there playing the system because they let him play. I shall not rest until a huge change has been made, and I shall not be silenced. The justice system needs a complete overhaul for it to make sense. The government needs to put human worth at the top of the agenda, not the bottom. The media has a huge impact on society. I feel they have a duty to educate, work alongside all forms of media so that it isn't shunned and ignored, but openly dealt with and spoken about, and then it can be addressed. Then maybe it would be taken seriously for all the horrors and destruction that it causes. How can we allow this to continue? It affects everything and everyone, from your baby's first cry to your workplace to school. Being made a survivor's ambassador for Women's Aid has given me a platform, a voice that can be used to speak out for all the silent victims that suffer as we speak. It's a different role from the usual celebrity ambassador, which is for profile and raising money, but actually I do both. My experience is a learned knowledge of survival amongst the most difficult circumstances. Charities really benefit from having people with a lived experience involved within their work, and I shall continue to work alongside anyone that wants my viewpoint and thoughts on this. The government making cuts to our services takes the choice away from the victim. It's simple. It's life or death. My aim is to make a change that will go down in history, preventing stories like mine from happening in the future. Women's Aid, victim support, rape crisis, and all the other services together, we have an ongoing battle of repairing and saving people. But you can't offer help to victims and then send them away because of the lack of funds or no room at the inn. All the sectors connected to domestic violence are fighting for survival to keep people alive. My family live under witness protection so that my ex can walk free. We live in an invisible prison so that he can live a normal life. Domestic violence spiders out and affects the world we all live in. And I wish to break free of this invisible prison. I want justice and freedom for all. And our children, the future generation, they need protecting and guidance. I'm lobbying for changes in the Parliament alongside my fellow survivor ambassadors, Rachel Williams and Becky O'Brien, with regards to the licenses and molestation orders. These are judges' stamped orders given to perpetrators on release of prison, with restrictions attached that they must follow. Rules attached like not make direct contact or indirect contact. If they breach, there's usually an order to be returned to prison at a set date. But abusers are constantly breaching the terms of licenses set within the system. They're not following through with the set rules, which defies the point in it all in the first place. It gives a false sense of security to victims at the most dangerous time, prisoners' release. This can lead to death. I am told to tackle one thing at a time. I also want a lesson added to the curriculum at schools on life skills to cover abuse, and I shall continue until such changes are made. And I want sentencing to make sense, to deter this crime in the first place, because the aftermath of mopping up broken souls, for me, is too late, because for some, tomorrows are not promised. There needs to be an overhaul in the system, one that dictates to the world that we will not accept violence, a change that represents and respects the deaths of those lost to domestic violence, one that gives their lives meaning and worth, change that would deter this misunderstood crime. I would like to see perpetrators sentenced with a fitting sentence, with no early release. They should set a worthy time years for rape, murder, attempted murder, false imprisonment, grievous bodily harm with intent. These are serious crimes. They need to hold a high sentence in. We need to publicise that continuously to society to deter this crime. After all, deterrence is the key, is it not? I feel my reason for surviving and even coming back from the dead, yes, I was dead for 6 minutes, to gather enough people together to stand up for change. It's important that I keep speaking out, even if I am ill. My aim is to show others that they can speak out too, by building up their self-worth and confidence. Because being in the thick of it, you really feel like there's no way out. And when the system lets you down, it weakens you. But staying isn't the answer. Staying quiet is not an option. For survival, speaking out is the first step to safety and freedom. United Voice, however, holds more power. Linking up with survivors has given me more strength to demand change within the justice system. My book, You Can't Run, highlights the mistakes made by the system and the consequences of those mistakes. It's being used by a wide network of agencies linked to domestic violence, and the feedback's been amazing. People asking how they can help. I do not wish my life on anyone. So if I can make a change that saves lives, then it's reason for surviving. It's purpose. My eldest son now is Jermaine, runner-up on the X Factor 2012. He sings gospel, soul, R&B, and his latest single's called I Wish. It's the anthem for peace one day, because we all want peace throughout the world. He's the youth ambassador for Women's Aid. His purpose is to spread this message through his lyrics and his vocals. So for every small donation that we receive at Women's Aid, it goes towards a part of a large movement of change that will not only save the lives of today's victims, but it will educate the future generations to eradicate DV. What can you do to help? You can contact your local MP, voicing your concerns on the cutbacks, explain how it will affect victims. It will mean more deaths, that's a fact. And the children involved, they're our future. They need educating, protecting, and guidance. Basically, you can be simply aware of people in your life, neighbours, workforce. Don't turn a blind eye, reach out. A listening ear can save a life. I've put a section in here about the housing benefit caps were going to mean that 67% of our refuges were due to close, but I took a lobby into the Parliament last week, and we've actually had that squashed now, so that's not going ahead, so that's a movement. We need to support each other as a nation, not ignore the situation. I had no idea of the verdict of Helen's trial, and I felt sick throughout that last episode, listening to the jurors and their ignorance of domestic violence and the powers of coercive control. I was elated when she was freed, but then split second after I was worried because Rob was quietly threatening her in the court as she was leaving. Because for Helen and for so many victims out there like myself, this is not the end. Thank you.